it's really easy to like jump on these witch hunts. But what good does it actually do when it comes to like the big issues that are like the root cause for people to be miserable, for the root cause for people to suffer? Is something that really frustrates me. It's going to make a lot of sense real quick, but I need to do like a little bit of build up. When I started being like a little bit more woke, right? Like in the beginning, I was just trans. Talking about like trans stuff, right? Talking about like how difficult it was for me to get access to healthcare, get access to, the medical treatment that I required in order to no longer be depressed, no longer struggle with like gender dysphoria and so on. And I faced like a lot of social issues, right? In Germany, back in my day, which is still kind of the case when it comes to like the healthcare. I needed to be like diagnosed with gender dysphoria in order to get access to medical treatment, to get it improved by insurance, right? And I needed to go to a therapist, and I needed to prove that I'm trans, that I'm actually trans. And a lot of them have like this weird performative idea of like womanhood, right? It's like, oh, you're not wearing heels, oh, you're not wearing dresses right now, even if your body, like, you're saying that it looks wrong to you when you're wearing these things. Like, that is not really like what a woman would do. You are not a real woman if you're not doing like these things. Oh, you're not wearing makeup? Oh, you don't want to like have people like look at you, stare at you? What if people like to look at you? How about that? Do you think that everyone who looks at you thinks that you're disgusting and gross? Then I had like therapists basically deny me the psychological evaluation in order for me to start HRT because I didn't do like these performative things. And it took me a while to find a therapist who was qualified in order to like do these things. So I, in the meantime, I kind of like learned that like trans stuff is kind of like rooted in misogyny, right? So I got a lot of misogyny because of it. It's like misogyny. So basically, in order to be a woman, in order for me to accept that you're a trans woman, you have to talk and act like a woman. You have to be like socialized like a real woman. You have to be indoctrinated like a real woman, which is obviously something that like transphobes have like huge issues with and weaponize, because like we've been socialized as as boys, as guys and whatnot for the most part, and we haven't been like socially conditioned in order to be subservient to any man by default. A lot of us actually are. When we consent to it, a lot of us are still really vocal and speaking out about a lot of women's issues and so on, a lot of trans issues. And that's something that, people do not like. The patriarchy doesn't like. So you have trans issues, misogyny, right? You also got like homophobia, right? It's like, oh, you're trying to escape homophobia by coming out as a woman or something. You're just a gay man. You're not a real woman. So, misogyny is also connected with homophobia. Like, homophobia is rooted in misogyny because, like, oh, you're inferior because you're feminine. It's like a hatred for femininity, right? Because men are being conditioned that, like, they have to appeal to the masculine man. So, homophobia is, like, obviously on the lower end, and, like, transphobia and homophobia is also connected. So, you're kind of, like, building your web of a lot of social issues that are like coming together, right? And then you're adding like the big one, right? Like the big cause of like the separation between genders, why you even have misogyny, and that is like, the patriarchy. You got the patriarchy. So, because of the patriarchy, you got misogyny. Because of the patriarchy, you got misogyny, you got homophobia, you got transphobia, right? Like all of these things are connected, right? You got, because of the patriarchy, you got transphobia, because like if trans people can switch, genders, quote unquote, if a man can become a woman, then like the boxes do not make sense anymore, because then a male is not inherently superior to a female. A female can become a man as well. So, female doesn't mean like inferior and whatnot, right? And it's also like a lot of like biological roles that is happening there. And then you have like the patriarchy. So who is controlling the patriarchy? So you got billionaires controlling the patriarchy, right? Because of billionaires, you got the patriarchy. Because of billionaires, they are pushing misogyny, right? Like social media is boosting misogyny more and more through like the algorithms. Like young men are being fed more manosphere type of content that is teaching them that like all the issues is called because of like feminism and, you know, women don't want to like fix your issues anymore. So you got like these issues, billionaires pushing transphobia, heavily investing into like this artificially created culture war so people do not worry about like, you know, a class war happening, right? A lot of people fall for it. Billionaires also doing like the same when it comes to like homophobia back in the day, right? Am I doing like a pentagram of like social issues right now? Holy shit. That's so funny. Holy shit. And these are not just like social issues when it comes to like, you know, transphobia, misogyny, and so on. These issues also play a role when it comes to like, why can I not afford housing, right? Why can I not afford rent? So you got like landlords and you know, billionaires and whatnot. They're connected. They are exploiting like these issues. Everybody's like focusing on it. You can't afford groceries because you don't earn enough anymore. Because, you know, billionaires want you to be broke. So you don't have enough money. You got money issues. You can't afford housing. They're just going to like start blaming immigrants for it, right? They're just going to like everything is like kind of connected, right? And you're basically like spinning this web. And then you also got like, you know, racism when it comes to like, illegal immigrants actually like the at fault. They are like the refugees. They're like the evil people. So that is also like being boosted. So everything is like really connected, and every like issue kind of like boils down to like the people in positions of power, the ones who have like the wealth and they are the controlling the government. They are setting the patriarchy in place in order to, you know, make women worry about like fulfilling like this societal standards for women, you know, like being a good wife, being a good mother, being pretty, being high maintenance and whatnot. But then also like having to work because, you know, obviously you can't afford a one salary home anymore. You can't have like a family based on one salary. So you also want the woman to work, and the men do not bring anything to the table anymore because like, well, earlier it used to be like, well, a woman can't even open a bank account without a husband. So that was like basically the bonus, right? It's like, what does the man have to bring to the table? Well, you're going to bring in the career. You're going to make the money because you're the only one who is allowed to even make money, right? That is no longer like the case. Nobody's actually like making any money anymore. But like when it comes to relationships, men are not bringing anything to the table because societal standards for men is just like so incredibly low. Like a good man is one that communicates their feelings. A good man is one that, you know, sometimes also does chores. A good man also, you know, buys flowers for a wife without wanting something in return, you know? But that good man is most likely gay because, you know, caring about someone, being in a relationship with someone that you love is actually really gay, and you should just like go f*** men. If you want to have like an intimate relationship, you gotta go to your homies and whatnot. You can't deal with the women. They are just there for like reproductive reasons. But they also have to look pretty. They have to be like an accessory when you go somewhere. You can like show them off everywhere. It's like a prize. And you're just existing because like being in a relationship with a man, that is already like more than enough. And then wondering why don't women want to cater towards them? They're no longer the prizes. Oh, it's because of feminism. So all these things boil down to like the same issues, right? And I have such a difficult time to look at something when it comes to like transphobia, being like, oh, let kids be kids. Oh, do this and that. Without also like acknowledging the patriarchy, the class struggles with like billionaires and whatnot. So everything is like literally always like the same conversation because everything boils down to the same problems, but nothing ever changes. And that's so frustrating. You can tell people these are the issues, but like, what are you going to do about it? These are like too big picture stuff. You're not going to change anything. One person cannot change anything against like billionaires. What are you going to do against like Elon Musk exploiting, I don't know, everyone and ruining the planet and whatnot? You're not going to do anything against like the people in positions of power. You should just roll over. And it's so frustrating. You just keep going back and forth for generations. Yeah, and nothing changes. And it makes me feel helpless. It's so frustrating for me to sit here and be like, well, okay, guys are lonely because, you know, billionaires want them to be lonely. You know, the patriarchy wants them to be lonely. Their male role models want them to be lonely. because then they're continuously being exploited, right? If a guy would give another guy good dating advice, then he wouldn't come back for more. So he needs to like feed them constant things that do not work. Oh, here's how you get 200 Tinder matches. This is how you can trick women into going on a Tinder date with you. And then it's like, well, okay, yeah, just go lie to a woman and make yourself seem like you're interested and a good guy. And then maybe you're going to be rewarded with like some intimacy or whatnot. But don't have like an emotional connection with someone. You can't be friends with a girl because that's gay. You don't want to be friend zoned. That's awful. So all of these issues are like always connected. And when it comes to like transphobia, when it comes to transphobic talking points, when it comes to the things that I'm dealing with, a lot of it is literally, well, okay, the patriarchy doesn't want you. It wants to control what is a woman. It wants to define what a woman is. That's why TERFs, like trans-exclusive radical feminists, they're not feminists. Gender critical, they're not gender critical. They're just upholding the patriarchy and thinking it's the natural order. Women are supposed to be subservient to men, right? They need to submit to men. And then the man, because he's so gracious and generous and whatnot, he's going to throw her a bone and, I don't know, not abuse her further. It sucks. It sucks. Because then you have the same conversations over and over again, but like, what are you going to do about it? Like, these are too big picture stuff. That's always like the problem. Like, everything here is like connected and whatnot. Everything is like big societal issues that have been in place for centuries. So what are you going to do about it? What can you change about it? But if trans rights fall, then the patriarchy is just going to get stronger. And everybody is going to be more controlled, right? Misogyny is already like rampant with like butch lesbians being kicked out of bathrooms because they do not fulfill societal expectations of what a woman has to look like. They're not feminine enough, so they should actually go into the men's restroom. They're making
you bottom.
You don't like landlords? Yeah. Tax the rich and whatnot, but like, you know, the people who could make a difference, they are being paid by the billionaires, and you know, like, billionaires are evil until they pay me money. Do you support gender abolitionism? I don't, we are so far from that. We are so far away from that. If we could put in place trans rights, that you could transition and whatnot, and the patriarchy is going to lose its grasp, and when it comes to like shoving people into boxes, then maybe people are going to get a better understanding of what it means to match, like, have that gender identity, right? But there's also like a sense of belonging when it comes to like gender. I do not believe that like getting rid of it is like even on the table in a fictional scenario. Again, even in a hypothetical, it's really difficult for me to imagine that we could ever get to a point where we have like a genderless society because of the link between gender and sex. So I can't see it. I can't see it. Gender identity is something natural. Trying to abolish gender would hurt everyone. Yeah. I mean, you know, like, gender as a construct, be like, oh, this is what women have to do. This is what men have to do. This is how women talk. This is how men talk. These, I don't know, toys are for girls. These toys are for boys and whatnot. That is also like patriarchy trying to shove people into boxes in order to control them better, which is also like being funded by capitalists. It's funded by the big corporates, because if they can sell that, like, oh, these are like action figures, they are only for boys and girls can't play with that because they're not interested. And these dolls are for girls, and boys do not want to play with that because, you know, even if it's like literally the same thing, it is just made, like, the separation is made so that like families with like a boy and a girl have to get twice as many toys to spend more money, right? Making billionaires richer. So they're utilizing the patriarchy in order to enrich themselves, right? Nobody believes that if you're a boy and you want to play with dolls, that makes you a girl. But there will be a lot of men, a lot of guys, and to be fair, also a lot of women who do not want you to play with dolls as a boy. We're going to call you gay and feminine and not like a real man. And they're going to invalidate you. They're going to invalidate your gender identity. And then you're going to like restrict yourself to the things that are acceptable for guys, which is obviously making it really difficult for people to not get angry and lash out and start overcompensating by going the opposite route and starting hating on women and, you know, bullying other people who do not match their expectations, right? If you can't be a feminine guy and still be considered a straight man, then, you know, I won't let you. What is a real man even? Whatever the patriarchy tells you to. Whatever the system tells you to. And then like the audacity of like the manosphere to appropriate like the trans movie, the trans analogy of the Matrix series and be like, oh yeah, you're breaking free because you understand that feminism is actually bad and the patriarchy is good. Like, you're breaking free from the system by upholding the system and making it stronger. Yeah, that's totally what the movie was about. And there are even cis straight guys who are fruity AF. Yeah, a lot of conservative guys, a lot of straight conservative men are the gayest dudes ever. A lot of gym bros, a lot of straight cis gym bros, gayest dudes ever. Showing affection to other men, that's gay, that's bad. Which is also like, you know, contributing to the male loneliness because you can't show affection, you're not being socialized properly, you don't know how to take compliments anymore because, you know, the patriarchy doesn't want you. Homophobia, misogyny, everything is connected. And I have a really difficult time to talk about topics, about current things happening in the world without always pointing back to the same root causes for why this is happening. But I don't know a solution to it because, you know, it's a societal issue. It's a systemic issue that requires society to work together. And the patriarchy doesn't want you to work together. Billionaires don't want you to work together. They want to separate you more because then they can sell you like AI companions and make more money off of your loneliness, of your misery. Like, you don't have like a proper bond with the other gender. Like, men don't understand women. Like, yeah, that's by design. Because from a very young age, if you're a guy, if you're a boy and you befriend a girl, then your parents, some school kids are going to like put the rumors that, oh, you are dating. When straight parents look at like a boy just hanging out with a girl, it's like, oh, you look so cute together. Are you two dating? It's the grossest shit ever. Which pushes the idea that like, oh, you can only be friends with a woman, with a girl, if you're romantically interested. It doesn't matter if you like hang out and you just like enjoy your time together or whatnot. And there's also like a disconnect being driven because like, you know, men are not being taught what misogyny is. Like, especially like cis people have like a really difficult time when it comes to like the dog whistles that they fall for when it comes to like transphobia. Men have a hard time, like cis men have a hard time understanding the dog whistles when it comes to misogyny. White people have a really difficult time to understand the dog whistles when it comes to racism, something that I fell for a really long time as well because I wasn't socially aware of all these things. I was mainly just like focusing on like transphobia, misogyny, and homophobia because that was like my bubble. And then I then expanded to be like, well, what is the root cause for this actually? And then you come to like the patriarchy and then you learn more. And then like it's a lot of systemic issues are linked back to like racism, the us versus them mentality, the tribalism and whatnot. A lot of things are connected. My mom doesn't understand the concept of a dog whistle. Yeah, it's also like the ignorance and whatnot, the unwillingness to learn that always frustrates me. But it always boils down like to the same issues. And people do not want you to learn about these things. And a lot of people, to be fair, don't want to learn about these things because then it's going to make them depressed as well because they're feeling helpless and powerless, right? If you're seeing like the systemic issues, if you're seeing why the things are in society the way that they are, if they can't go like, oh, the reason why I don't have enough money for rent is because of the refugees taking away all the housing. That is so easy. It is such an easy escape to like all your problems. You have like a scapegoat, you're punching down, you're not going against like the regime, you're not going against like the popular narrative that is pushed by billionaires on social media and whatnot. There's no force. There's, you know, you're swimming with the wave. It's so easy. And people love the easy route when it comes to like these things. They refuse to learn and comprehend actual issues because they're always afraid to be proven wrong and stay trapped in their little delusions. Right-wingers, billionaires, and whatnot say that changing your mind, educating, and whatnot, that's a weakness. You know everything because common sense. You're born with all the knowledge, but that's That's like the difference between like leftist and right wing stuff, right? If you're a leftist, in order to like accumulate the knowledge of like what is happening in the world, the root causes of these things, you have to be socially aware. You have to actually like communicate with people who are part of marginalized groups. You have to get yourself out there. You need to have like a diverse friend group, and you need to like be willing to be proven wrong and just like listen when, you know, as a white person, you know, when people of color are telling me that if I just like said something that is like rooted in racism and I don't notice that, I feel like, you know, I should like, you know, hear them out. I think that's like the least that you can do. And that's the same when it comes to like transphobia, right? If you're a cis person, you say something, if you're continuously using like they, them pronouns for a trans woman who uses she, her pronouns, and they're like, hey, you know, this is rooted in transphobia, you're doing othering, right? You're like removing gender as a component because you don't view me as a real woman. A lot of the times, cis people should just like listen, but no, it's like, nah, I always know everything and you're too fragile. You're a little snowflake and I don't have to like listen to your guilt tripping and whatnot because, you know, being proven wrong is always difficult. And if you have like the arrogance to some extent that actually like everyone has, at least, you know, to a certain degree. For me, for example, it's like sometimes in the heat of the moment, I go into like denial as like, oh yeah, I did everything right. And then it just like takes a little while for me to like process what is happening. And then I'm able to like change my mind and like be willing to learn something that I have been trying to work on for a really long time because it's really annoying. To constantly be in arguments and like insist that you're correct even if you're wrong. But I'm also like always like so on edge because I constantly get challenged when it comes to like trans topics by transphobes. So I'm like in this mindset constantly that like everybody's just like not understanding me properly. Something that I've been struggling with like early on. It's like, oh, people do not understand what I'm saying because I'm not phrasing it in the right way. And if I just like have like an argument that's like a little bit different, if I give them a little bit more information, then they're going to like understand and connect the dots. But that's not always the case. That's rarely happening. A lot of the times, the things that I'm saying is basically just like resonating with the people who already, you know, have like some base knowledge of the things, some fundamental understanding of things. And yet far leftists are still sitting here defending her son's animal abuse like you're a complete hypocrite. Okay. Okay. There's a bigot in the chat. Come on, dude. Just rage bait. It is. It is. Come on, dude. Stop. I'm so done with that topic. I'm also not defending animal abuse. I'm just saying I do not have like evidence beyond a doubt that, you know, he did shock. And I have not seen evidence beyond a doubt that he didn't shock. So I'm just like calling out that people are seeing things, they're interpreting things, and they're jumping to different conclusions than I am, which, you know, can be fine, but not when it comes to like, you know, human rights and whatnot, right? You being like, oh yeah, I just don't view trans women as women. That's just like my personal opinion. Just agree to disagree. That doesn't work. That doesn't work because you're basically just upholding the system that is hurting trans people, that is hurting, you know, cis people as well. Like I said, when it comes to like bathrooms and so on. I don't know. I did like one tweet regarding like the situation. I heard that like, oh, it's just like a vibration collar. All the prongs have been removed. The fact that the story has been changing over and over again makes me like a little bit more skeptical than I used to be. But I still think that like the things that I say about like the right are correct. But they don't care about like changing any of it because it's big picture stuff. So why should you bother actually like, I don't know, joining like a protest, joining like an activist group, trying to like make a difference when it comes to like policies and so on, because, you know, that's too difficult. It's so much easier to just jump on a witch hunt and be like, well, this Hassan is like a really shitty person, awful dick that he could do that, even though it's not illegal, right? Even there's nothing illegal about it. For me personally, it's more upsetting that he lied if he did shock, and I, you know, would be like a little bit more skeptical of like the things that he says when it comes to like animal welfare and whatnot. And I've seen some awful clips, so I'm like a little bit more, you know, on the fence when it comes to these things. I still appreciate Hassan when it comes to like other political coverages and whatnot, but I think that like everyone has their flaws, and purity testing can be tricky. Like it's not it's not always like a bad thing. Obviously, like wanting someone to take accountability and wanting someone to be better, should be the goal and whatnot. But being like, well, okay, this person did something that is bad. This is going to like invalidate all the good things that someone is doing. It can be tricky, right? Obviously, when it comes to politicians and so on, the standard should be higher, right? Going to like the UK parties, like the Independent Party, the Your Party, and having like people be like, oh yeah, we are fighting for trans rights. And then there's like a 1 p.m. who's like the co-founder of it being like, well, trans women aren't biological women. I feel like, there should be like some repercussions for that. There needs to be like someone who is better, because you can't trust politicians you can't trust the party if some of the politicians are saying something that inherently goes against like the other, like the goals of the party, basically. It sucks. No heroes, no pedestals is my motto. No heroes, no pedestals is my motto. Take the good for what it's worth. Don't ignore the bad either, but try to maintain a perspective. Yeah, I think that's a good idea. It's like, if your concern is animal welfare, trust everyone who has met Kaya. If you trans ally, trust trans people. Yeah. It's also like, when it comes to like the Hassan situations, people judging Hassan based on clips that they see, and obviously they're not going to like watch the good clips, right? Like Kaya not acting like an abused dog. She can also like come and go. It was a really prominent thing. And I was hoping that like, hey, maybe we can like shift the focus onto like a big picture stuff, right? Like, oh, you're against like electrocuting dogs. Why are you celebrating that like queer kids are being electrocuted in conversion camps now that like the Supreme Court is agreeing with Trump to revert the bans on conversion camps for minors? Why are you cheering that on? But then when it's about like Hassan and being like, I don't know, morally superior to him, then you care about it. The same when it comes to like, well, more Palestinians being killed despite the ceasefire. And then it's like, oh, you're using that as a shield. You're using it to excuse criticism. You're using it as a shield. And you're actually like disgusting for doing that. We are just talking about Hassan. Why are you making it something bigger than it is, or whatnot? Which is obviously gross. But yeah, there's like no action being taken. We see that a lot when it comes to like the trans community. It's really easy to dunk on trans women who do something, or who are perceived to do something that is bad, ostracize them, make them like deplatform them, bully them, basically, harass them constantly, isolate them, dox them, and whatnot. It's really easy to like jump on these witch hunts. But what good does it actually do when it comes to like the big issues that are like the root cause for people to be miserable, for the root cause for people to suffer? And this is what makes me like feel so depressed and alone and helpless, and to be fair, also like hopeless when it comes to like society, to just see things get worse and worse constantly, and for people to just like go after like marginalized groups more and more, harder and harder, and cheer on when trans kids are ending their lives, when trans rights are being taken away. But like, what good does it do? What good does it do for humanity when a trans girl in school cannot play sports with her girlfriends? What good has been achieved when it comes to like the housing crisis, when it comes to like, minimum wage, when it comes to like poverty, when it comes to like the food deserts in the US, which is like so dystopian? It's scary. And I have like a really difficult time to talk about anything other than, these things, because they're like so huge systemic issues. I can't just like report on drama and like ignore this. And I feel like I have to like explain every single time why things are the way that they are. But I also have to tell people that I do not know what to do in order to fix it. Maybe helping people be more socially aware is more than, I could ever do. When it comes to like, oh, these games are woke. Sure, I can make fun of people considering that like women in Battlefield is woke or whatnot. Sure, I could make fun of it, but like, why is that considered woke? Why are people like pushing the idea that like women are not, they shouldn't be in combat, and they shouldn't be in the video games? Like, it's not appropriate to put this into a video game or whatnot. Like, I can't just like ignore that, which is always like the frustrating thing that the problem that I have with like drama tubers, or like those who consider themselves apolitical, because they just like literally ignore all of this and then just like look at the small things, but do not understand or don't want to understand and don't want to like look into like the reasons why the small stuff is even happening, why the small stuff is happening the way that it is happening. And I just hate having to like repeat myself over and over again, but it's like, what else am I going to do? Just ignore this? Like I can't. When it comes to like transphobia, debunking transphobia, it feels like you also need to like explain why transphobia is even a thing. What about the way capitalism is going to fuck us over so much worse with AI? Yeah. And then it's like, why is AI even so popular? Why do fascists hate art? Why do billionaires hate art? Why is art not being valued in society? And this kind of like, this situation kind of, it makes me a little bit depressed. I'm trying to, hold my head up high and think that, we're going to get through this. Things are going to get better. And we just gotta like, keep being there for each other and keep trying our best. But I can understand why people feel that it's difficult to do so. Why people feel like their existence doesn't matter. Because, if you're trans and whatnot, your voice is being suppressed. And you can't even get your life experience out of there. You can't share your personal experience. Nobody believes you anyway. The cis straight person, the conservative Christian, they know everything about biology and psychology better than you. And actually, they understand that you are just like porn addicted and you just don't want to see that. You made it your whole personality. Your own experiences and so on, they don't matter because, these voices are being suppressed and you're not being heard because people don't want to change their mind. And it sucks. It's frustrating. But I want people to like still, keep trying because there are some people who are willing to learn. Surround yourself with people who are willing to listen. Surround yourself with people who support you, who just trust you when you say that like, oh yeah, I'm a woman. I identify as a woman. This is my gender identity. I do not feel like my body represents my gender identity. There are people who trust you on that. When it comes to Twitter, most of it is artificially generated anyway, bot farms and so on. There are accounts dedicating their lives to literally like posting tweets of trans people and so on. So the arranged followers are going out their way in order to harass that trans person. Because how dare you be publicly trans? This culture war, it is so artificially created. And the average person falls for it because, trans people are just like a really small minority. And the voices of the trans community is not as loud as, the voices of like billionaires, influencers, right-wing influencers, right? If like an Asmongold is sitting there in front of like 30,000 viewers and being like, all trans people are mentally ill, they were groomed into this. If I'm sitting there with like 80 being like, hey, I never spoke with anyone about being trans. I always struggled with like gender dysphoria. I was always struggling. I always wish that I was able to live life as a normal girl. Obviously, I cannot undo the damage that some right-wingers are doing. And that does suck. He didn't say anything for literal years. Yeah, me neither. Some trans sissies tried to reach out to Asmum, but he just brushes them off. Of course, because he's sitting there being like, I know everything already. He also has like a financial incentive to not change his mind. He makes so much more money being a shitty person. Why would he risk that? Why would he be like, oh yeah, I was wrong on this? When like the lucrative trend is to just go after trans people more and more. So yeah, that's a struggle. But I'm still going to try my best. And I still have, people telling me that my experiences and so on, like what I'm saying, help them. And, I guess that's worth something. But oh my god, am I tired? I'm really tired. There's the classic saying, it is difficult to get a man to understand something when the salary depends on not understanding it. Yeah. How does your channel get a political warning? Does Asmongold get one? I gave it myself. How do you feel about LGBT content creators that signed for his talent agency? I'm not going to talk about like Mythic. I think that they have like a lot of issues behind doors, behind the scene, behind closed doors. I think that like when it comes to talent agencies and so on, a lot of content creators and so on are just using it in order to have someone with connections and whatnot to help them get like sponsorships. And there aren't like that many talent agencies that are good and not as exploitative. I don't know what you say about Mythic, but I feel like if they want to be more respectable as like a talent agency, I feel like they should get rid of like a lot of associations with right-wing content creators. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, we've been going over time, but I wanted to do this little yap session because I've been thinking about it for a while. But yeah, I don't know where we are. we're going with everything. We'll be live again on Friday, 5 p.m. CEST, same time as always. Make sure you join the Discord if you haven't already.